Right, this is Carl Torstens. Another serious subject to talk about in our land of opportunity and our land of apple pie and baseball and all those good things that we have grown up with. Let's talk about the 9 signs of socialism. First of all, socialism directs, it opposes the American dream. It directly opposes the American dream. Now, what does that mean? The American dream. I just told you baseball, apple pie, freedom, liberty, justice, all those things we're used to having at the tip of our fingers. It's just one of those things that socialism takes away from you. Okay? It fights you every step of the way. Socialism and communism have many, many common takes on the daily lifestyle that people take. Socialism and constitutionalism are two opposites of each other. Let me tell you why. The socialism does not comport to our Constitution. Why? Because it's a whole different lifestyle. First of all, under the constitutional law, politicians are elected by the people for the people and done in such a way that the majority wins and encourages politicians in power to represent your important decisions or your important issues in life. Well, under socialism, politicians in power make your most important decisions for you. They're your proxy, but they do it in an absolute power type of way. They don't ask you for input. They go with the majority of their, uh, let's say the House, for example. If the House is the Democrats are in the majority of the House, then politicians in power will make the decisions that are important to you for you, whether you like it or not. Whether you agree with it or disagree, that's how socialism works. They take away your freedom of choice. If you believe what's happening today is not a good example of socialism, then let's talk about it. Let's talk about the freedom of choice. Can you go to church today in your state? Can you attend a football game? Can you go and buy a ticket to a concert? Right now, under the disguise of a pandemic called COVID-19, freedom is severely limited, if not eliminated. You can't even go to school today. Why? Because the government said so. And that's all they need. They can regulate your life by restricting or eliminating your freedom of choice. Under socialism, we will all suffer equally. Now, that doesn't sound too bad, but who wants to suffer? Nobody should have to suffer because under socialism, it's more about oppression than it is about engagement or the embellishment of freedom. Under socialism, you are told what to do, and you're told that you can't have any more than the next person, no matter how hard you work, no matter how much you earn. So under socialism, that all be null and void, and you will be paid equally, and you will be treated equally, like the last person on the block, you might say, um, received. If everyone owns the resources, nobody really owns them. Under socialism, you don't own your house. You don't own your car. They belong to the community. They belong to the government. They belong to the mortgager. It's a whole different type of system that you have to get used to because if you don't own anything, then certainly your liability shouldn't be as bad either. But that's not how it works. If you have a house and the bank owns it, the bank tells you what to do, don't they? You truly never own one under socialism. You can't ever pay your house off because that's not how it works. Only thing I can say is be happy if you have a house. Be happy if you have a home. But be prepared to give it up. If people are suffering around you and don't have a home, it's reasonable to conclude that you can lose your house because the people around you don't have a house. You can lose your car because people around you don't have a car. Now, is that an extreme? No, that's not an extreme. That's just the way it is. You suffer equally. Under socialism, we're robbing Paul to pay Peter, or we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Whichever one you want to take, it's still morally wrong. It's morally wrong, and it's going to come and end up in a bankruptcy because there's not enough money to go around. Now let's talk about that. Right now we're waiting on Congress to pass a stimulus bill, a $3 trillion stimulus bill. Who's paying for that? Well, the government is just printing money. That money doesn't mean anything unless it can be paid back or it can be backed up with gold. Robbing Peter to pay Paul is morally wrong. And it's wrong because we're buying things and getting things that we cannot afford. Our national debt has never been as high as it is now. I'm not blaming any party for that. That's just the way the government's been working nowadays. They spend more than they take in on taxes. They spend more than they take in on revenue. And they continue to shift the money around just so that we have the availability to give people money. Power is consolidated within the government. How many people don't understand that? Power is consolidated within the government. That means the government is absolute control. They control you. If they tell you that you have to wear a mask at all times, you wear a mask all times. Non-compliance of that power will result in fines, will result in jail sentences, and you're subject to arrest. You're subject to go to court, and you're subject to go to jail or prison. Why? Because the power is consolidated with the government, and the government is the end of your appeal system. Socialism creates dissent and stifles freedom of speech. You can't say what you want to say. How does that sound, you First Amendment freaks? Does that sound like something that you would oppose vehemently? Socialism creates dissent and stifles freedom of speech. That means you can't disagree with the government. Consequences for disagreeing with the government are violence, they are harsh, and they likely end up in incarceration and incapacitation. You can go to prison for disagreeing with the government. Socialism creates dependence instead of freedom. Socialism destroys independence and creates dependence. Some people like to be taken care of. Some people are institutionalized and they like the government to take care of, whether it be food stamps or housing subsidies or anything else that helps them get through the day financially, economically, or even socially. Socialism creates dependence. It's like a drug, and you're going to get addicted, and you're going to lose your freedom. Think about that. Socialism creates the kind of feeling, emotions, and sometimes anger and frustration because you lost control of your life. The government now controls your life, and it's time for you to make a decision how you're going to handle that. It's going to be a direct opposite of what you're used to right now. And you may agree or disagree with me, but I tell you this: socialism will destroy our country. It will divide it. It will create a civil war. It will create a conflict that we have never seen before because we've never been to this point where we have so much influence, either through social media or through politicians that are crooked, that have their own agenda, and other venues of publication and news releases that favor socialism. Don't let socialism absorb your life. You lose self-control. The government will control you, your mind, your body, your thoughts. That's the end of conversation. However, one last thought for this particular topic. Socialism is self-destructive. It cannot last forever. Sooner or later, the inner spirit of people will come out and they will defy the negative effects of socialism. In the beginning and through history, it's been established that at the beginning people think it's a good idea because they're taken care of, because the burden and the economy and the social support is equally supported through a government system. It's a fallacy. It's a trap. Socialism will trap you into doom, despair, and you will see higher suicide rates, you will see higher crime, and you will see higher families um, falling apart, I guess is the easiest way to say it, but it's true. Socialism is a social doom. Think about it. If you agree with me, comment. If you don't agree with me, comment anyway. I'm interested to hear your point of view. Thank you.